All right, let's dive into a really fundamental question, one that gets at the heart of how we think about truth. Is everything really just true or false, black or white, or is there a whole lot more going on in between? I want to kick things off with this, well, pretty provocative claim from the world of logic. The idea that having more than two logical values is a humbug. Now, that is a strong word. It's basically calling some entire systems of logic a total sham. So, that's really the big question we're tackling today. Is it true? Are these complex logical systems just a waste of time? We're going to unpack this whole fiery debate and see if there's really more to truth than a simple yes or no. Okay, so to really get what's going on here, we've got to rewind a bit. We need to start with the classical view, which for a long, long time was shaped by the ideas of this giant in the field, the logician Gottlob Frege. This is Frege's principle, and honestly, it's a huge deal. What it says is that when you get right down to it, the meaning of a sentence isn't all the complex stuff it's describing. Nope, the meaning is just one of two things. It's either a name for the concept true, or it's a name for the concept false. That's it. So you get this incredibly clean binary system. You say something like, the sky is blue, and logic's only job is to drop it into one of two buckets, the true bucket or the false bucket. There's no middle ground here, no kinda true. Everything is strictly black and white. But you can probably guess, this super tidy picture didn't sit right with everyone. I mean, reality feels a lot messier than just true or false, right? And that feeling led some thinkers to start building entirely new ways of doing logic. One of the key players here was Jan Łukasiewicz. He looked at tricky sentences, especially ones about the future. Think about this. There will be a sea battle tomorrow. Now, is that statement true or is it false? Right now? A two-valued system makes you choose. But Łukasiewicz said, hang on, we need more options to deal with that kind of uncertainty. And this is what he came up with. Pretty cool, right? Łukasiewicz introduced a third logical value. Let's call it 1/2. It stands for possible or indeterminate. And just like that, he completely challenges Frege's world by creating this logical gray area for things that just aren't settled yet. And you know what happened next. Once that door was open, the floodgates just burst. All these other non-classical logics started popping up to solve different kinds of problems. Like, what if you want to talk about things being possibly true versus necessarily true? Well, that's modal logic. Or what if you think something is only true if you can actually build a proof for it? That's intuitionistic logic. All of them seem to prove the same thing. Two values just aren't enough to capture reality. But then, just when it seems like the future of logic is all about adding more and more values, another Polish logician, Roman Suszko, steps onto the scene. And he has this wild, game-changing idea that just flips the whole debate on its head. And here it is, Suszko's thesis. It's as simple as it is shocking. Every logic, he says, is actually two-valued. You can imagine the reaction. After all these new systems, Suszko comes along and claims we never really left the binary world at all. I mean, how could that possibly be true? Well, this is the absolute core of his argument, and it's brilliant. He says we're mixing up two totally different things. A sentence's meaning, which he called its semantic correlate, versus its logical value. Think of it like a wine tasting. The semantic correlate is the wine itself. It can have this incredibly rich, complex flavor profile. Notes of cherry, oak, a hint of vanilla. There can be countless different flavor profiles. That's the meaning. But the logical value, that's the judge's final decision. At the end of the day, the wine is either award-winning, we'll call that designated, or it's not award-winning, we'll call that undesignated. The richness and variety are in the meaning, but the logical judgment is a simple thumbs up or thumbs down. So this new way of thinking is called non-Fregean logic. It basically abolishes Frege's big rule that a sentence's meaning is its truth value. Suszko says, no way. A sentence can have all sorts of rich meanings, all those different wine flavors, but it still gets sorted into one of two simple piles when we're doing the actual work of logic. All right, so let's circle all the way back to that humbug claim from the beginning. Now that we have Suszko's idea in our back pocket, what does it all mean? Is that third value that Łukasiewicz came up with really a humbug? Well, first off, it is absolutely true that a system of logic can have lots of formal values. We saw it with Łukasiewicz's logic, right? He used 0, 1/2, and 1. There's nothing fake about that part. And the whole point of those values is to be those semantic correlates, to represent all the rich and detailed meanings out there. They let us build logics that can talk about possibility or uncertainty or things that go way beyond a simple true or false. But, and this is the absolute kicker, Suszko's thesis says that when it's time to actually run the engine of logic, when we need to figure out if an argument is valid, we do one final crucial step. We sort all of those rich meanings, all those possibilities into just two camps, the designated ones that act like true and the undesignated ones that act like false. In the end, when it comes to logic, it always comes down to two. So, those extra values aren't a humbug at all. They're not useless. Their job is to describe a world that is full of nuance and complexity. But the engine of logic that processes that messy, complex world, that engine, Suszko argues, might just be fundamentally binary. Which leaves us with a really fascinating thought. Maybe logic is just the black and white processor for a world that exists in infinite shades of gray.